What's going on, everybody? Shonen Express here, coming to you with another weekly newsletter. This week we're going over issue 50, obviously of the 2021 year. As the year wraps up, we are in now a season of where we're going to get new manga every single week until the end of the Shonen Jump calendar. So I'm super excited, and obviously this week we got a new one, and that's where we'll start. So the cover this week, and the new manga this week, was Ayashimon. So obviously I like the cover itself. The green and blue tint from looks like that red light district was interesting. I like them. I think the characters look cool, but we'll get into that obviously later. I love this premise, right? So I read literally the second page. I got to page 2 and I was like, I'm in. I'm super in on this manga. So first of all, some of you people may have read a manga called Nura: Rise of the Yokai Clan. In the past, I believe it's a weekly Shonen Jump manga that ran several years ago in the magazine. I'm a huge fan of that manga. I'm actually a huge fan of the whole yokai Shinto kind of mythology that's around some of these yokai. And so when I saw this, right, I was super into it. Now, in this series, the demon monster things they call Ayashimon, hence the name of the series. But when you see all of them sitting at that table as part of the Yakuza, clan there, and they're all like these monstrous, yokai, I'm super interested because it reminds me so much of Nura. So I'm very excited. I loved seeing that color spread. It was really good. But beyond the premise, I think that the main character, Maruo, something like that, I think he's very interesting. I like him a lot too. I love how we open up and his super strength is broken punching bags and everything, and they're kicking him out of a gym. I thought that was funny. I love the legend that kind of surrounds his character. Him, obviously being this absolute brute, apparently. Known for taking out a whole school by himself, and obviously we see that this is actually a true thing that actually did happen. I love that. I think it's so cool. I love that his last name is Kaido. I don't know if that is an explicit reference to the current, main villain in One Piece, but if it is, that's a dope reference. So I really like him. I like that super strength, starting point that we're at. And I really love his love for manga. I think it's awesome. He's like, I want to be like Goku or Kinnikuman or is it Jotaro? I think he says Jotaro. And then later he mentions Kenshiro too. He idolizes these manga characters, and so as a kid growing up, right? This is so relatable. I idolized these people too. I idolized Goku when I was a kid. Dragon Ball Z was the very first manga that I ever read. So I can totally understand this and I relate to it. Obviously not the super strength part, but I love that this, leans him into training. He trains so hard that he's able to smash these rocks and he actually gains super strength. I think that's super, super cool. I love that. I love how into this he is, right? They get into the fight later in the chapter, and he says, stop making me so excited, don't get my hopes up any higher or something. I love that. He's so excited that this could be a real thing, that he could really be a protagonist, that he could be in these fights, that he's idolized all this time. I love that. And then, all of this is great, right? All of these things are really cool. They're great, signs for the manga moving forward, right? But what really I think set in stone that I think Ayashimon is going to be successful in this magazine is the little tiny bit of backstory we get about this kid, right? It seems like his father was in some way, or it could be stepfather, I think it's his father, but was in some way abusive, right? Looks maybe an alcoholic a little bit. And so, on the one hand, we see that this, his training was because he idolized these characters, but we also get to see that he trained to surpass his villain, which was his father, and he almost uses these characters as an outlet for the turmoil that he's suffering in real life. And I hope that this manga, as it develops Maruo further, I hope that we get to the place where we get a little more about this. We get a little more depth and insight into the fact of the matter, it being he got strong to escape the situation he was in, to fight back against his father, and that these characters were a great help to him, but there's a deeper thing there, and I think that as this manga goes, it will get more into that, and if that's just the beginning, there will be more characters, and more of this can come about. So I'm super excited. It makes me super hyped for that. And then what I love about this, right, is they don't even stop there. This is the pilot chapter. This is chapter 1. And they don't even stop with this, like, tickling you with, like, what future development he could have and we could see for him to have. It actually goes into the fact that he's taken down his father, and it was easy for him. He's clearly this superhuman, monster, and he said it didn't feel good. I didn't feel like I beat the villain, I beat the final boss. It didn't feel like that. And this is such a quick little commentary on this statement of revenge. Now, I don't know, where you guys listen to my podcast, or not my podcast, my videos from, but there's an actor named Terry Crews here in America, and he says a story similar to this, that he started working out and he went to the gym because he was afraid of his either his dad or his stepdad, and that he got real big, and one day he put his dad in his place, and he talks about how it didn't feel good, how he didn't feel like he won. And this is such a common theme, right? Because eventually, kids will grow up, and they will pass their parents, pass their oppressors in strength. But this retaliation is never worth it, and I'm so glad that they portrayed it like that. I'm so glad that it was a hollow victory for Maruo, and that he's now going to be thrust into a situation where he can use this great strength for what it ought to be used for actually protecting things. I really like that. It gives me a lot of hope for this manga going forward, that this manga can introduce some deep themes that are almost uncommon in Weekly Shonen Jump. So I loved that. I also love how epic some of these scenes are. I mean, he holds that car up. He looks so cool. I mean, Maruo looks awesome when he's fighting. He's just a normal human, normal punches. It's so cool. And then he uses his quote-unquote Kamehameha. It's just a punch, and I love the editor's note, like, this is not the real Kamehameha. It's really funny, but it's so real. This is like a real thing that I did when I was younger, in middle school, and pretend like you could fire a Kamehameha off. Like, these are real things that I've done, and so it's just so relatable. I find him just very, very relatable, and I love the partnership that him and Urara, the girl, have formed. I really like their duo. I think that they're going to be good together going forward. I like the kind of give and take that they have with each other, and I love how funny they are at the end. This is what makes me excited that it can not just be a strict battle shonen kind of manga, but that it will also have a little bit of humor in it, be able to be, relatable in that way. And obviously, this is coming from an author who has published a work before, Hell's Paradise, in the magazine before, and been very successful. That was a pretty successful manga that ended on its own terms. So I have all the hope in the world for Ayashimon. I hope it goes very, very well. And it seems like it has all the tools to be a success, and that's what I love to see in new manga. So this definitely got me hyped to see the other two that are coming in the next 2 weeks. I'm just really hyped. I'm hyped about it. But yeah, that was the cover, and so we actually got 3 color pages now because the golden award event thing is over, and so a color page isn't given to that. It's coming back to the magazine proper, and so we got 3 color pages, which is awesome. And so the first one went to Ayashimon Triangle. The color page itself is okay. Again, I've said this before. This isn't for me. I'm not here for the the risque kind of things. And this color page actually wasn't that bad. It was just good artwork. You know what I mean? It's just not the kind of think I'm looking for, I guess. But very pretty, so definitely, it's up on the screen, obviously, take a look at it. But getting into the chapter proper, the stuff, like, Suzu's, like, absolute infatuation all of a sudden was a little confusing to me, to be honest with you. I don't understand why she's so infatuated with Matsuri, like, right now. That's kind of, it's hard for me to grasp. I don't quite understand why that is, but I did like the stuff with the Omikage, kind of rebelling and trying to, like, confess the feelings to Matsuri. Apart from Suzu's, actually making that happen. I thought that was actually funny. And interesting that the Omikage would do that if the feelings are strong enough, the Omikage will break off and pursue those feelings. I really thought that was interesting. And then Matsuri's, like, kindness in, like, noticing, trying to say, get the sweet potato thing that he did because he thinks that's what Suzu wanted. I really like that, and how deep and meaningful that was to Suzu was really good and interesting. And then, of course, we get to the end of this chapter, and we get a big confession. I mean, Suzu pretty much says that she loves him. Now, there is a chance that next chapter, what's going to happen here is Suzu is going to say, like, they're gonna spin it in some way that's like, as a friend, like, I love you as a person, like, they're gonna spin it in some way. There's a chance of that, but I really think that this might actually go somewhere. It's we are on chapter 68. It has been a slow build up to this point, but I think that it could genuinely walk down this road now. I think that lane is open if Ayashimon Triangle wants to go down that lane. But yeah, no, it was a good chapter. I have no complaints about the chapter. Definitely moves that plot point forward. But yeah, no complaints. It was good. That brings us to color page number 2, which is Magu-chan, God of Destruction. And I feel like I've been talking about this manga a lot lately. I've highlighted it a couple times. It's got a couple color pages. This color page, I like. It's not the best color page, right? But I just love seeing the gods of destruction, or not just destruction, the higher beings. I love seeing them in color pages. I like the look of them, and obviously Nanitsu. This is the first time we got Nanitsu in on a color page, and we've really grown this list of higher beings quite a bit. So I love this. I love seeing them all there. It was great. But getting into the chapter, this chapter is all about trying to make Magu smile. Magu-chan is not smiling. He is not having that at all. They try, like, tickling him. That doesn't work. And, like, Yunaris does, like, stand-up comedy, and that doesn't work at all. And then Mu, I love Mu tries to like, massage his face into place, and they're all like, ew, that does not work. And Mu, like, berates himself in the corner for even trying. That was really funny. I love that. And so obviously all of these things fail, and then it ends up being just him and Ruru out looking at the sunset. I love how genuine Ruru is at all times, and this plays into this manga and its heartwarming appeal. I think that's the biggest appeal that Magu-chan, God of Destruction as a manga has, is the heartwarming nature, and Ruru is such a great character for that. She really is a great pillar of this positivity that we're looking for in this manga, and then we finally see it. Magu-chan smiles, and I love how subtle it is, but you can still tell that this is a smile, and I love the affection that is forming between Magu and Ruru. I really like that. I think it's so interesting. And I just love to see it. It's heartwarming. I really like this manga. It is a heartwarming manga, so definitely this is a great chapter. I liked it, did its thing for me. So yeah, it was definitely good. But that brings us to color page number 3, which went to Mission Yozakura Family. Another manga I really like. We've had a couple of jokey chapters, and this chapter started out kind of that way. First of all, let's talk about the color page. Shion is again in the color page. She's getting a lot of attention lately in these color pages. I don't know if somebody told him, like, we really like Shion's character design or something, but she's getting a lot of attention here. I know that she is responsible for, like, trying to find Momo Yozakura, so I get that, but it was a good color page. I had no complaints. It was interesting. Always very good artwork on these color pages. Really, generally good artwork in this series. But this started out kind of like a gag manga. They go to this house, right? A couple of them go to try and find Momo in this house because they're sensing Somanin in the house. And I love the ones that go, right? Taiyo, Futaba, Shinzo, and Shion, right? And Shinzo and Futaba are scared, hiding behind Taiyo. I really like this dynamic. It presents almost like a Scooby-Doo kind of vibe in the beginning, with them kind of searching out this supposedly haunted mansion. And then I love the powers of the teleporting powers. Like, we see Shinzo and a couple other people get taken. And we find out where they are. I love the attack Taiyo does to break the wall. It's so beautiful. I mean, the artwork is so good in this manga. I really like the action artwork in this manga is amazing. But he broke the wall, and then they find the second head of the Yozakura family back there. Obviously, she seems to be in line some way with the first head, Tsubomi, and probably in line with Momo in some way. And she's the one that's taken these people back, that teleported them back into the wall, and we find Shinzo there. So I'm excited to see what next chapter brings. I think we're going to get into a more serious arc here in the future. This is kind of how Mission Yozakura Family goes. It has, a couple chapters will be like kind of one-offs, and then it'll get back into an arc that's more serious, then it'll go back to one-off, chapters. So I'm definitely, I like the chapter. It was a good chapter, but I can't wait to see what the conflict resolution is for next week, for sure. So that brings us to the mid part of the video, which is where I talk about things that are new, and we've already talked about Ayashimon because I got the cover. I only have this section here because sometimes, very, very, very rarely, the cover will not go to a brand new manga, so I like to have my bases covered. But something did end this week as well, so we got even more to talk about, and that was Niru, Way of the Martial Artist, had its final chapter, chapter 18, which is so early for a manga to end. Chapter 18 was the final chapter of Niru, Way of the Martial Artist. And essentially, this was a meetup chapter, right? There was a bit of a time skip, right? It seems like they're out of school now and all pursuing different careers and things. And so they try to do kind of a similar thing to what the end of Haikyuu did, where they skip forward in time and you kind of slowly got to see everybody. I think the end of Haikyuu was far more effective at this, but obviously they only have one chapter to do it, so it's kind of hard. I had a hard time differentiating who was who, because they don't look that much different, but again, this is only an 18-chapter manga, so I don't remember all of them that much. I did like the clash between the Niru and the girl who was originally found him. I thought that was cool. Their fight was really, really cool. I definitely can appreciate that. I don't understand what's up with the mask. She asked him to put on the mask. Am I supposed to understand the mask? Because I didn't. I know it's like a Tengu, like the mountain warrior thing. I think I understand that much, but I don't quite get what its significance is. If I am missing something huge, leave it down in the comments section. But I really don't understand what's going on with the mask. So, if you know, let me know. But I will say, I really did like the ending panel of him, like the very artsy kind of looking, him jumping through the air. I really like that. I thought it was a cool panel and really worked for the ending of this manga. As a whole, it was like I said, it was a good last shot. But this manga was just too young. I mean, I don't have any really good or bad impressions of it. There were chapters that I definitely liked, chapters I highlighted, and there were chapters that I didn't like at all. So, it's kind of a middle-of-the-road manga for me. I don't think it had enough time to really build up on itself, and it got canceled very early. So, it wasn't all that impressive to me. But that's all we got for Niru, Way of the Martial Artist. Thus, the saga ends. And so, yeah, that's the only thing that ended this week. And on break this week was One Piece. As always, One Piece kind of is pretty much almost reliably every other week it comes out. But man, last week's chapter was so good. Who cares, right? So, One Piece was on break, which leaves me with only 2 highlights for this week. So it was hard to kind of narrow down my 2 highlights, right? Because we had all the color pages and Niru ending, so I had to cover that. So to narrow it down to 2 highlights was a little tough, but I've got my 2. And they're a little unorthodox, right? So the first one, which you should all see coming at this point, was Blue Box. I love Blue Box. You know that. If you've watched these videos, you know I love Blue Box. Last week, I don't even think I mentioned Blue Box. I don't even think it made it to my mentions because I wasn't super thrilled with the chapter as a whole, right? I didn't they keep edging towards Taiki's going to say something and then they back away. But boy, did this chapter really, really do an amazing job of bouncing back from that, right? So, we see that, Taiki and Shinatsu go to the store. And we see he grabs her out of the way of that car, and she, bumps into him again. This obviously calling the flashbacks back to when he was sick and she fell on him. And this was the fatal mistake here. This was a misstep for Taiki. This further physical contact was a misstep. And you could kind of tell, you could kind of feel it. I love Shinatsu's response. And I love it for multiple reasons, because Shinatsu is, she knows, right? I feel like she has a feeling that Taiki is developing feelings for her if he doesn't already have them. And I think that in herself, she's sensing that she's developing feelings for him, right? And so I love that she says, I haven't been careful enough. Living, with you in your house, I haven't been careful enough. I haven't put up enough boundaries, and I'm going to change that. So forget that ever happened. Right? And we're going to start over. I'm going to do better. I'm going to keep these boundaries up higher. And this is crushing. I mean, this hurt me, right? You're reading this chapter as a fan of Blue Box. Obviously I'm rooting for Taiki and Shinatsu to get together, right? But this is like real. This was a real emotional turmoil, I think, that it caused, and it's so good. It's so able to cause that, and I love that. And the only other thing I really have to say about the chapter is we lead off into summer vacation, right? So next week, hopefully we're going to start summer vacation as it, we're going to get into it, right? And I think that this is the time where Hina is going to get a real chance with Taiki. I hope that this manga goes on for a long, long time. I hope that it's a huge success in the magazine because I love it a lot. And I think that this would be a good time to have Taiki and Hina kind of build up their relationship and maybe have it foster into a bit of a romance, right? And then we can move back to the Chinatsu side, later on. So I'm very excited for the future, and I think this chapter did such a good job of really having you feel the almost heartbreak that Taiki is feeling. I think it did an amazing job at that, so I had to highlight it this week. I couldn't stop myself, guys. I really just love it. Which will lead me to my second and final highlight this week, which was P6. And this, I haven't highlighted this a lot since its second week. It's only on chapter 9, so it hasn't been that many chapters of it. But I really thought it was important to highlight it again this week because I really think that it did something that was quite incredible. Regero obviously is an incredibly sad character, right? It's incredibly sad that he what happened, and I think it's a real look at the children of divorced parents, right? I mean, obviously his mom and father separated, and he wanted to go with his mom, but his dad wouldn't let. His dad took him with him. He wants to be able to rely on someone. He is the definition of a follower. He wants to be with someone and follow someone in that way, and he loved playing with Lucky. He loved being with Lucky. And so then he finally gets into the piano, that happens, and he's playing the piano in a more stable environment, and he finds a friend who's also good, talented at the piano, and in Saida, and they become good friends, and he loves it. It's giving him life in a situation that was very, very hard for him to handle, right? And so, out of consideration for his friend, he throws one of the competitions, and this is where we really find out that Otagame, the father, and I forget his first name. I know that we know it, but I forget it. This is where we find out that Otagame is terrible. He's a terrible, terrible guy. I hope that we get to meet him and see him personally at some point. And I hope that he's actually not as outwardly terrible as originally he is intended to be. But we see him hit Regero, saying, "Don't ever throw it again. Don't do things like that. You made a mistake on purpose," right? And this is such a subtle abuse to him. And obviously, we see later that this really messes up his friendship with that Saida kid, who ends up like locking him in a closet for hours. For hours, he locked him in this closet, which is terrible. And we even see, like, at some point, I believe he puts like a razor blade on the piano keys, and Regero just develops the ability to play around it. Because he's so accommodating. Because he just wants someone to love him. He just wants to be a friend to somebody so badly that he's willing to learn anything, to do anything to get there. And his dad has Saida, like, excommunicated from the piano world. And at this point, Regero is alone. His Otagame, his father, saying that the only friend that you'll ever have is the piano. So just play it more. This is such a subtle abusiveness that it's perfect. It's a real world abusiveness that we're seeing. Where he's huddled alone on his bed. This is terribly sad. He's huddled alone on his bed, wondering why his mother didn't stop his father from hitting him. That why she only stopped him from hitting Lucky. What was different about Lucky than Regero, and why was Regero not worth that? And just doubling down into being like, the piano is my only friend. I have to get good at this. I have to be the best at this because it is my only friend. This is an incredibly sad chapter. It's an incredibly real chapter, and I felt like it deserved to get highlighted this week because of those factors, and because it really touched me. It touched a nerve with me, I think, this week. So I had to highlight it, guys. I just had to. But that will bring us to my mentions, and I have several of them. Jujutsu Kaisen this week, we got a little bit more about Higuruma's abilities. That was really cool. My Hero Academia, we got a little bit more into Star and Stripes, New Order quirk, which again was a little bit hacks, but I didn't feel like it was enough to highlight it this week. Sakamoto Days, the fight with the string guy and Sakamoto was really cool. I love the stuff about him not being able to revert to the skinny form anymore. Black Clover, pretty much just everything I said last week, double it down this week. They got Yami back. It's going to go well. Something ominous is going to happen, but I love it. The Elusive Samurai, I like the war tactics going on, so definitely check that out. And Witch Watch, I love the references, all of the student council members being like these tropey characters. I thought that was really funny, so definitely check Witch Watch out too. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this week. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked anything I had to say, leave a like down below the video and comment. Also, I'd love to talk with you guys about anything going on in Weekly Shonen Jump right now. I'm super excited to talk about all of that. Also, if you don't know, the Pillow Fort podcast, which is me and Kate right now, we're going through One Piece. We just finished the Logtown arc, and we're about to do the Reverse Mountain arc. So definitely be on the lookout for that as well. But yeah, until next time, guys, this is Shonen Express, signing off.